Good morning and welcome to what I'm hoping will be just the first video in a series of videos covering cover crops and how I use them in my own garden. I'm kicking off today by featuring the Mighty Mustard Power Trifecta Blend, which with a name like that, how can it not be amazing? But what got me interested in this blend was its claims that it helped to kill off nematodes. Now, nematodes aren't a particularly large problem here in my garden, but I know in many areas they are, and I was interested in how exactly this blend worked. Now, this mix contains Kodiak, Pacific Gold, and White Gold mustards. And the reason this mix is so effective is because these varieties contain two different glucosinolates, one which suppresses broadleaf weeds and one which reduces pathogens and harmful nematodes. Secondary benefits of this mix include things like providing biomass, improving soil aeration and water penetration via the root structures of these mustards. The blossoms attract beneficial insects and pollinators, and it can work as a trap crop for crucifer flea beetles and cabbage aphids. Now, this mix has some very specific usage instructions, and it's not like my typical cover crops that I often just chop down and either use as a mulch or mix into the soil and just let it go at that. To get the full effect from the glucosinolates that are released from these plants, you need to follow the proper protocol when terminating this crop. And that protocol is that at the first sign of flowering, which is usually about 30 to 35 days after sowing, you want to chop up this top growth as finely as possible. Now, your options for doing this are a little bit different in the home garden than they are for like a big scale farmer. So what I have found works well is either bringing the push mower in here, chopping this all down, using a weed whacker, hedge trimmer type tool, or just getting out your pruners or scissors or something and chopping this all up. You want to get this incorporated into the soil as soon as possible after chopping this down. So don't wait until the next day. Make sure you're able to do it all in one day. And that is because the glucosinolates that are released from these plants are short-lived, and you want to get them into the soil as soon as possible or you're going to lose that effect. So you get the chopped up top growth all mixed into your soil. I just used a garden fork to do this. And then the instructions say that you want to roll your soil. Again, that's not really possible in a home garden. So I tamped it all down really well using my garden tool. You want to water it in if your soil's not already really moist, because the moisture is crucial again for those glucosinolates. And then I just mulched everything over the top pretty heavily with grass clippings just to kind of seal that all in. And because I would go back and mulch anyway. Now, one more crucial point is that for optimal results, you should not plant for at least 3 weeks after doing this. So if this is a cover crop you are interested in using, make sure that you have your timing right and that you're not having to get in there and plant one of your vegetable crops right away. Now, your other option, if you have decided to use this as a trap crop rather than a cover crop, is to allow this to grow to maturity, and you're basically going to wait until you see a full infestation of whatever critter you're trying to get rid of, whether it's the flea leaf beetles or the cabbage aphids. Once you see that, at that point, the crop can be terminated, or you can spray with like an organic pesticide targeted to those pests that you're trying to get rid of. And the idea with the trap crop is that the pests prefer this to the other things that you are growing, so you draw them all into this crop and then destroy it, basically. So as I mentioned in the beginning, nematodes are not a really big issue for me here. I do have problems with broadleaf weeds, so I'm very interested to see what the suppressing results are in my garden bed where I've planted this cover crop. But if you've used this for nematodes, I'd love to hear about your results. A few other important key points about the Mighty Mustard Blend. This is a cover crop that's best planted in the spring or the fall, and that is because it is day length sensitive. For the most biomass production, you want to plant it when your day length is a little shorter. The Mighty Mustard Blend will winter kill at sustained temperatures of 26 degrees Fahrenheit or colder. So if you plant it going into fall, it will winter kill once your winter temperatures get to that point. The seeding rate is about 1/4 to 1/2 pound per 1,000 square feet. Now, to be honest, I just kind of broadcast or scatter sow all of my cover crop seed, and just kind of eyeball it. I tend to get mine a little thick, but it still works really well. A hand cranked broadcast sower also works well for this. The ideal planting depth is about 1/4 inch to 3/4 inch deep. Again, I just tend to broadcast sow. I'll kind of tamp the seed into the ground either with a rake or my foot, but I don't get really particular about making sure that it's planted at a certain depth, and I've had no issues with doing it that way. And be sure to subscribe to see more updates on the cover crops that I use in my garden. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.